We had this badass. We got this like 70-inch TV
Yeah.
that had a Bose speaker system in the base of it. We got
Nice.
it on Craigslist for like $100 our sophomore year of college, and moved it into our apartment. And we had a PlayStation 3, an Xbox 360, and what else do we have? Oh, an N64. We because Luke's like he's actually a shop teacher
Yeah.
now. Like,
Yeah.
like that's what his job is, and he was going to school for it. So he built this like custom shelf that held all of our consoles, like right next to where we had the TV set up in our apartment.
Yeah.
And then right above that, we had our DVD shelf for all of our DVDs. So you could just pop them into the Xbox or the PlayStation if it was a Blu-ray, and just like watch stuff on this like huge TV that had this Bose system. It was like the best college apartment setup ever. And it was like a first generation like 1080p flat screen.
Right. Right.
It was like,
Right.
but it was like it was such a cool TV to have in a college apartment, and we played so many video games on that TV.
Yeah.
There
Well,
were
no,
so many times where we would skip class because we'd be in the middle of like, oh, we're playing through a game, and like, oh man, I'm just gonna skip class. We're gonna keep playing.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny. It's like all through like high school and college, they always were like, "Oh, you can't skip class. You can't skip class." But it's like, every other week it's just like the teacher asking you how your project's coming and what you need to do for it. And 9 times out of 10, it required you to leave the classroom anyways. So like, yeah, let's just skip
Well, you and
class
I
and
were both also like, I was a communications broadcasting, which meant
right.
most of my projects were like recording audio or video.
Yup. Yup.
And what I would do is, because I'd been into that stuff since middle school, is usually most people had to like book the lab and
Yep.
book the communication studio to
Yep.
do stuff. I just went to my apartment and I set up a bunch of microphones and would record everything I needed to do in like
Oh yeah.
10 minutes before class.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah.
I, I had my attic in this very same apartment. We had a very weird apartment where we had the attic was a door through our bathroom, but the attic was a full footprint of the house above our like bedroom that we slept in.
Okay, yeah.
So Luke and I built out the attic to be a little studio.
Perfect.
So he had this like cool little Catalina Club drum kit up there because he
Right.
was a drummer in my band in high school too, and we went to college together. So he had his drum kit up there. I had one of my Fender amps up there. We had like a Yamaha, like an old school analog console with like all the
Okay.
mixers and faders set up.
Yeah.
And we just had mics set up all the time up there. And so I would carry my like 2009 MacBook, like the white plastic one.
Yeah.
I would just like carry it up the stairs and set it down on this little like desk we built, and just like plug it into the USB interface we had at the time.
Yep.
And like we could just track songs up there.
Yep.
Like I still have some really cool demos we made in the attic of our college apartment because we lived there. I got that place the second semester sophomore year. It was like right off campus, and Luke was a grade younger than me, so
Okay.
like he moved in. He moved in my junior year because I lived there with my friend Matt the year before, and we kept that place like in the like quote unquote family until Luke graduated, and then Luke passed it on to his friend Mason. So like we still had that apartment as like something we could hang out at for like 7 straight years of college. It was like I graduated, Luke graduated, Mason was there still. So like we just kept the apartment because we did so much stuff to like retrofit it because the landlord also didn't care. He paid us one summer to redo the floors.
Right. Okay.
Like so we just like did stuff to our apartment, and like he would just like take stuff off our rent if he's like, "Oh, you improved the place. I'll take a couple bucks off the rent this month." He
That's
was cool. He was
hilarious.
he was like
That's
a 6 foot
hilarious.
five guy who name was Don, and he owned like 20 properties in Millersville. He rented to students. But he would like hang out. One time we took our rent check to his place because he lived in Millersville,
Yeah.
and he knew we were like big baseball nerds. So he's like last time I was at your place, I saw you guys had a lot of like Yankees and Red Sox memorabilia. You guys want to see my collection? We were like, yeah, sure. He had a baseball card collection, dude. He probably had $3 million worth of baseball cards in the basement of his house. He had
Jesus.
a sealed room for them that he like showed us, and he like let us like check it all out. He was the
Should
coolest landlord I've ever
should
had.
have knocked him the
Coolest dude.
fuck out and stole that shit.
Well, he was great, so I wanted to hang out with him.
True. True.
But
Yeah. 7 years later, I
but
guess.
yeah, Yeah, I skipped class all the time though, for the reason of I had a studio in my apartment in college because my roommate, my I was good at audio stuff, and my roommate was a carpenter. So we built like it was sound treated. Like Luke built like baffling and stuff in the
Yeah.
attic.
Dude,
So it was like,
we could have
yeah,
done that. Yeah, we did the same shit. I mean, like Ron Ross was like one of the media teachers at our college, and like everyone knew that to get through your entire college career, you had to have Ron at least for like one or two or at least three or four classes, and all you had to do was show up. You just had to show up and you had to breathe. Like the one project, we were supposed to do like a folly thing. We were supposed to take a clip, like a 3-minute clip from a movie, and then we were supposed to mute it and then re-add in all the sounds, right? So like do a voiceover and add music, and if someone's walking, add like the crunching
yeah.
sound or whatever, you know.
Yep.
And like half the idiots in
Dude,
the class.
I had to do basically the same project. We had to read a children's book and
Yep,
like make an audio bed for it.
yep, yep, yep. Half the kids in the
We did
class,
Ferdinand the Bull.
they literally just submitted like the original clip, but with like them cutting out the actor's voice and just replacing in their voice over it, and then it would cut back to the original audio of the video. A plus. A plus for you. Like you didn't even do it, but because you showed up and you showed Ron that you know, kind of cared and had effort, A plus for you.
Oh yeah,
Like it wasn't
I went
it
so
just
hard. I went so hard on that thing, dude. I had my classmate Megan. She and I, we had a great working relationship because she knew how to do nothing technical,
yeah.
but she worked really hard.
Yeah.
So whenever we had to like write a group paper, she would write the paper, and I would just like do all the technical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whenever we did a project, like she would do the hard work, and then I guess it's hard. Relatively, it would be hard for a normal person to do all the audio and camera stuff that you and I know how to do,
Yeah.
vice versa, you know. So when we did our Ferdinand the Bull reading, I set up a bunch of mics and I had my piano set up next to her. It's like,
Mhm.
all right, Megan, you're gonna read, and then we're just gonna stop, and I'm gonna like find a sound effect to go along with what you're reading,
Right.
and then we're just gonna do it live. And I just had like 2 tracks running, so I live scored her
Uh-huh.
reading.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And we did the whole project in like 15 minutes and submitted it. And our teacher actually played ours back for the class. She's like,
Yeah.
"This is what an A grade looks
Oh,
like."
yeah.
And
You'll appreciate this. We had this other professor, his name was Patrick, and Patrick was like one of the young.
I'm gonna see if I can find that file. I'm gonna look on my hard drive right now because I want to see if I can find Ferdinand while
Do
you
it.
go. Keep talking.
Do it. Patrick was like the young like teacher that like all of like the older college kids wanted to hang out with. Like I'm pretty sure Patrick now like lives in Philly and he's like a graffiti artist or something. Like he's that kind of like cool, mysterious, like kind of hot, but not really, but like look at me, I'm an artist. Like but
Yeah.
so his class was all about design, and like so we had to design a website, a homepage. And I'll never forget. And of course, at the time, you know, he's young artist, hipster, whatever, and it was college, and they were blowing up and new and kind of on the scene. We had to create a new homepage for Raw Burritos because their website at
Oh
the time
hell yeah.
sucked, and so that's just what he picked as the class project. And everyone in the class just had horrendous, disgusting, worse than what you put in Figma designs for raw burritos. And mine, for the time, back then, 10, 15 years ago, actually looked really good. And as soon as he saw it, he said, he looked at it for 2 seconds, looked at the rest of the class, said, everyone get up, everyone come over here. And literally the class of 30 students surrounded my iMac. And he said, you, what do you like about this? You, what do you like about this? You, what don't you like about this? What could he done better? And like everyone was just like, it's great, it's banging, it's awesome. He said, this is what a fucking website's supposed to look like. And I should have known then that I was a good designer, but you know, it's fine. Obviously I am, but like it was like one of those situations where it's like, okay, like I get it now. You know what I mean? Like everyone else in the
Yep.
class just had like black and gray squares as their websites because they don't know anything about design because we're developers. But like, you know, it's just
Yeah, you figured out how to do it well back then.
yeah.
That was like for me. I always was like, surprised by how little effort people put into like I also would make really weird stuff. Like we had to spoof a news story for my one communications class.
Ooh, that sounds
And
fun.
so I created like a whole story of how like students were stressed about finals one week.
Okay.
And the way I did it was I like created all of this like content around like people like looking like they were in the fetal position while writing papers in the library.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
like I just like I took around actually my iPhone at the time, which
Right,
is very funny, like how horrible it probably looked compared to how it would look now if I did the exact same thing.
right.
And I filmed people doing stuff. And then I clipped it together and I had this like and then I had Megan, my like all time like we literally went through every communications class together and she did
Yeah.
all the writing and like on camera stuff and I did the camera work and all the audio editing
Yep.
every class. And I had her do the like reporting standing with a microphone and like talking about like how
Yeah.
stress was getting to students during finals week and how people
Right.
were handling it differently.
Right.
And like I had my friend shave his beard to just a mustache and say that it was like his like playoff mustache he was using for finals week. I had all these like funny clips. And then everyone else just like literally did what you said. Like they took a real news story and just like edited themselves into it,
Right.
which
Yeah.
actually I think took more work, like to like CGI work it as opposed to just like making something yourself like we did.
That's
And
so
it
funny,
was
dude.
what was fun about it is like it was like I created this entire made up news story. And like our teacher was like, "This is great. How'd you do this?" And I told her I was like, "I used my iPhone for most of it. I filmed it in landscape mode, and then I had Megan stand in front of a real camera and got all the real footage and interviewed people." And she was like, "This is great." She's like, "I love that you like didn't just like do what everyone else did."
Right.
She's like, "Thank you."
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. By the way, I should reach out to her because she would love to know that I'm actually like using my degree.